All right, welcome to the way it should be. I'm Dean.
I'm JD.
How's it going?
Good. We got Cody with us today. Cody, tell us who you are.
Yeah, my name's Cody Brown, and I've made a living underneath my cowboy hat since I was 16.
Since you're 16.
35.
Okay.
So, you started out bull riding?
Yeah. So, when I was a kid, I grew up, I lived next to JD there in Godley, and we pulled out a buck and barrel and put 4 poles in the ground and set it up on springs, and we'd ride that thing till midnight.
Yeah.
2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
So, for those of you who don't know what a buck and barrel is, it's a 55-gallon drum with, I think we had 6 garage door springs, 4 on the back and 2 on the front. Do you know what a buck and barrel is?
I have no idea, man. This is a world I know nothing
That's some
about.
bitch to jump over the moon.
No shit.
It's 4 telephone poles in a square.
Uh-huh.
And then a buck and barrel right in the middle, 4 garage door springs on the back and 2 on the front. And you put a bull rope on it and you get buddies on each side. The one that we built it would sit about 6 feet off the ground. When you sat down on it, it would sink to maybe 4.5, 5 foot.
Uh-huh.
And you get on
you
there.
put a guy on each rope.
You can put a guy on each
string,
rope.
and that son of a gun would do it.
Yeah,
That's badass.
You pull it all the way down. It would easily launch someone 12, 15 foot in the air if you messed up and let go on the top side.
Oh shit.
I probably weighed about $125 at that time.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
They could freaking send it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then you're the only one that we all did that. We had good times doing all night long. Lights going, trucks pulled
We'd
around
have
there.
pickups. JD had an old antique pickup.
Yeah.
And he'd pull it up there, and we'd crank up AC/DC or ZZ Top or Van Halen, and we'd freaking rock it.
We'd get after it.
Dude,
yeah.
that's badass.
And Cody just took it to the next level.
Yeah.
My mom was real protective of me. She didn't want me like doing all that. She didn't want me riding bulls. Period.
Really?
No. And they wanted me to rope and be a cowboy, which I was and I became. But I loved riding bulls, so JD's kind of responsible for all that. I'd borrow all his shit because she wouldn't let me buy it myself because she didn't want me doing it, and so it finally got to the point I was like, I'm gonna do it behind your back, or you can let me do it the right way.
So, and then we lost, because I'm a couple years older than you, so then we lost contact there for a while. I moved off, and I guess you graduated high school and then just went straight out?
Well, I moved off, I think before y'all maybe. You know, y'all moved to town.
No.
Or, well, you
No,
graduated.
I graduated, yeah.
And
so
then
the
I
rest
moved
of them.
off. But me and Cody stayed buds.
Yeah. But you just went right into...
No, I finished out high school, so I made the high school finals. I won them in 2005, 2004, and 2003. I won the finals in all 3 years. And I think I was runner-up one year, but I think that was my freshman year. Anyway, so... And then when I turned 18, I just started riding professionally, and I got my ass handed to me there for...
That's awesome.
2 years probably straight. Didn't win very much. I had a lot of early on success, and that wasn't the best for me. And then I got to drinking and partying and running around and
living the cowboy
life and living the
lifestyle,
professional cowboy life that I wasn't ready for, you know. And it beat me down pretty good. And then I finally got to where I was winning a little bit, and I got hurt real bad in 2007. Yeah, I got my stomach stepped on. I spent like 6 weeks in ICU, care flighted, the whole deal.
God damn.
Yeah.
So you just...
Was there a bull that stepped on you? Or
Yeah, bull stepped right in my stomach.
God almighty.
And it lacerated my liver and broke
Wow.
my ribs, punctured my lung, lacerated my spleen and all that.
Jesus.
So you graduate high school and you just say, we're just getting in a truck and we're going to start hitting rodeos?
That's what I did, yeah. You know, I didn't have anything else to do, you know. That when I started riding bulls, I loved playing football, I loved playing baseball, I hated school. But I found out I could make money riding bulls, and I was like, I can make money doing this thing that I love. See ya. You know, like, you're not gonna tell me any different.
That's badass.
And
so you start traveling around all over the U.S.
I started just like in Texas. I think I went to my first PBR in Weatherford, 2-3 months after I graduated high school, and I didn't do very good, but I went. I tied myself in there and gave it heck anyway. But yeah, and then I just went to traveling around, and then I went to all the pro rodeos and amateur rodeos around Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Oklahoma, and just wherever they'd let me enter and pay my money, I'd be there to ride.
How long did you were you on the circuit doing that?
So I would go anywhere from amateur rodeos, like they have different amateur rodeos in Texas that you can go to, amateur rodeos to CBRs, which is tough Hedeman's bull riding, and then PBRs and PRCAs. And so I went to anything, like whatever that group of buddies I was with at that time was going to is what I'd go to. You know, I had all 3 cards, and I'd go to just about anything I could get in to win some money. And back then, I didn't really treat it as a job. It was just a way to make money to go to the next one and hang out with my buddies and stay up all night long, go to the dances, go to the concerts. And back then, that's all I was focused on.
It doesn't sound like a bad life.
Getting to the next one.
Yeah.
You know?
It sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That went on for a long time, and I was at a crossroads about 2009. Well, 2009 or 10. I'd been hurt a bunch.
That's what I was about to ask you. So before you pass that crossroads, during this time, what all did you break?
Oh shoot, man! I couldn't.
What are the major ones? Because you probably just went through a whole bunch of them.
I broke my hand really bad. I don't want to say that's not a major one, but I broke my hand really bad, and I never quit going. I would just tape it up. Yeah, my riding hand. And I would just tape it up and freaking tie myself in there and get my rope as sticky as I could get it and tie myself in there. And I made it work a lot of the times, and I didn't a lot of times, and it got me hurt worse. And then.
So, and mind you, there's no insurance in this. So this is
absolutely not.
Well,
When I got older, like, and started treating it as a job, I got good enough to where I was insured. Yes,
okay.
But at first, no. I was on a whim, man.
Damn.
So just awesome. Buddies in a truck going from rodeo to rodeo.
Yeah, and sometimes a car, a van, whatever we could find.
God, man, to be young and dumb again.
One night, me and one of my buddies at Fort Worth, if you're talking about what we traveled in, we had a big molester van. It didn't have any windows in it. The only 3 windows were in it were the front 2 windows and the windshield. The rest of it was completely just a van. We had a mattress in the back, and so we get tore down drunk at Northside one night after riding there, and we're passed out in the van. Well, it's hot, and we had the doors all kicked open on it. Well, somebody steals this van while we're sleeping in it. Me and my buddy were sleeping in the back, and they steal it, and we wake up. I'm rolling around back there, and I'm like, man, slow down. You're going to kill us. And I look next to me, and my buddy's passed out next to me, and I'm like, well, I guess he found somebody to take us home. I was like, slow this sumbitch down, you know? And so we wake up, and I'm like, we're on the south side of Waco, ran out of gas on the side of 35, completely out of fuel.
So you never saw them? You just ran out that they
ran out of fuel and jumped out, and I don't know where the hell they went. Anyway.
So even when you woke up and said, hey, slow down, they just kept rolling?
We had a rodeo we had to be at the next morning, so me and him.
Was it in Waco? That'd be.
No, it was in Denton.
It was in Denton the other way.
The other direction. So me and him get out, and we run to the gas station, buy one of them little cans so we can run back, get us some fuel, throw it in that thing, get it to the. And I'm like, did you find somebody to drive us? And they just got lost. He said, dude, I was just passed out as you were. I have no idea. They were probably drunk. It's a wonder we're alive.
Yeah.
And
God damn, that's good.
That lifestyle there went on for 3 years straight.
That's
awesome. It was like that every day. I mean, I'm just lucky that I'm still
partying and riding
here.
bulls.
Yeah. I mean, I guess God had another plan for me because I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That's badass, man. That's really good.
So you said earlier before we started your hips. You broke your hips riding?
Yeah, well, so it was just wear and tear. Yeah, like my hips were just shot. This was later on in my career. Back then, I had trouble with them, but I didn't pay attention to any kind of trouble. If I was able to walk, I was getting on them. Later on, I meet my wife. In 2000, and I met my wife in 2009. At the end of 2009, I met her in Mesquite at the championship, the PRCA rodeo in Mesquite.
At Donnie Gay's rodeo?
Yep, Donnie Gay's bull riding and rodeo. And it was her first rodeo to ever go to. She came to the dance or party afterwards. We met, kind of hit it off. She didn't want nothing to do with me.
Dirty bull rider?
Yeah, I mean, well, she did at first, and then she kind of got to know me, and she was like, I don't want nothing to do with that guy. Anyway, I finally got her talked into dating me, and pretty short time after that, we had a family. And that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, so I met her, and things got serious pretty quick because she fell pregnant with my first daughter, which is 12 now, and things got a little more serious and a little more on a mission.
So at that point, you're still rodeoing, you're still bull riding?
Oh yeah. So still bull riding, still going. She fell pregnant in 2010, and our daughter was born in 2011. So yeah, it was 2010, and yeah. So she come to me one day and she was like, "I'm pregnant," and I was like, "Oh."
Better start winning.
I need to call you back here in a little bit. Let me call you back here in a little bit. And so I was like, well, what are you doing this weekend? She was like, I don't have any plans at the moment. And I was like, well, you want to go to some bull ridings with me? And we loaded up, went to some down around the hill country down there, around Burnett, Texas, and around Austin, San Antonio. And we went on a little run there for about 4 or 5 days. She came with me and kind of made a plan that we were going to stick together, and no matter what happened, we were going to be together and make it work. And
so how hard was that? How long did you rodeo with a family like that?
So then that was in 2011. That's all I did for a living until 2015.
Oh, okay.
So
for a little while after.
Yeah. So if I would have treated my first part of my career like I did my second part of my career, I would have probably, I'm not going to say I would be wearing a gold buckle, but I would have done a lot more in my career.
So what did you do different between your just running around time and then your getting professional time?
So I just treated it like a job. You know, I'd wake up early in the morning, I'd work out. The best thing I ever did, and I don't know that I wasn't a believer in God and a believer in Christ, but that was probably the best decision I ever made, is my relationship with Jesus now. And from that point on, it just kind of I set some boundaries, some goals, and was able to move in a positive direction.
Awesome.
You know, I started living my life by design instead of default. You know, before I was living by default, just take it as it comes and roll on with it. And after that, I started designing and shaping my life by on purpose, you know.
Yeah.
So
you do that, and then you got a family coming, and what pulls you out of bull riding?
So I was going very good. Like shortly after we got married, my daughter was born and everything, and I started winning pretty good. You know, I was making a living. I wasn't like burning the house down, but I was making a good living. We were traveling. I had a pickup with the Capri camper on the back of it, and we were traveling together all as a family.
I'm glad you said that. I've been trying. I don't interrupt you for just a minute. I've been trying to think of who I want to sponsor me for on this thing. Capri campers, boy, those are some cool rigs, and they build them down the road. So
absolutely, right there in Bluffdale.
You're right there in Bluffdale, yeah.
So I had a Capri camper, and me and my wife Courtney Brindley, my daughter, we traveled in that camper, and we went all over the United States. There's not very many states we didn't go to. PRCA rodeo and PBRs, CBRs, And I treated it like a job. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd work out before daylight. Kind of set me on a mission. I took care of my body. I quit drinking. I'd still have some beers and I'd still hang out, but
Quit binge drinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't there for the party.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I know one for a fact. I never stepped foot into another bar after me and my wife were married.
Yeah.
Without her.
Yeah.
Now she had come with me sometimes. Like if we were out together, we'd go out to a dance or to go out to a bar and hang out and have fun.
But not
if
going
she
to a
was-
bar to hell raise.
No,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
No, we'd just go have fun, have
Right.
a couple drinks, and
Like probably you were prior to, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
And then so she, if she wasn't with me, I didn't even think about going out.
Yeah.
And so I was PRCA rodeoing. They were going with me all the time. And then I went to a PBR and I won it. It was a big PBR, and we were in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. I win Little Rock, which is a pretty big event. And then they put me on tour, the televised events, and I got to start going to those televised events. And then not long after that, I had to have my first hip surgery. And so I got my hip fixed and was rocking and rolling. That year I was on the path to make the finals and was doing really good. And then the next year got hurt in Arkansas.
So just real quick to explain to people that don't, you're going to the PBRs based on earnings, right?
Yep.
Based on what you've won. I don't know if you knew.
I have no
That's how
idea.
you get to
Yeah, so you go to
the finals. Excuse me.
you go to the amateur ones,
Mhm.
which are PBRs, and they pay very good money and it's professional. But once you win and accumulate enough money or points at that level, then they let you go to the televised events,
Oh,
which
okay.
back then were called the Built Ford Tough events. So I started getting to go to the Built Ford Tough events, and got to go to a few of them, and was doing really good. And then I had to have hip surgery. I just got to where I couldn't get away from them anymore. It was hurting so bad. I couldn't get up off the ground and get away from them. I could ride them pretty good, but I just couldn't get away from them. And
Get away from the bull.
yeah,
That's what.
yeah. So, it got to where it's hard to travel. I couldn't travel. It was
At this
pretty
point,
tough.
you're early 20s,
yeah,
mid 20s,
yeah, mid-20s.
mid 20s with hip. Not a lot of mid 20-year-olds have had hip surgery.
Right, yeah. And then so I get my hip fixed. I go through all this rehab. I was training with NFL football players and like got in tip-top shape. Went back at it, was riding really good, like winning everything I was going to. And then I hung my spur in a flank rope, which is on the back of the bull that makes them buck anyways. Hang my foot in the flank and get jerked around the arena there in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And
Yeah, I believe I saw that video.
maybe
I think so.
It turned me upside down. Anyways, it jerked all them anchors out that they fixed. Went back, got it fixed. I went through a different doctor that time. I went to a doctor in Dallas that works on the Dallas Stars. And they fixed me good that time. And then about that time, man, I've always wanted to just be a cowboy. Bull riding was like a way to still make a living with my cowboy hat on. But when I was a little bitty kid, I would go to Arizona and punch cows with my grandpa and my uncle. My grandpa Joe Brown and my uncle Tommy Cox. And I'd go out there and we'd punch cows, and I was always fascinated with being able to ride a horse and make a cow go where it didn't want to go. It was always like a dream of mine to be a cowboy. Anyways, I didn't grow up that way, but I would go to Arizona, spend my summers, and I'd get to do that there. And so it was always kind of in me. I just had never found a way to make it work yet, And then so after I had to have that second surgery, I started kind of working around, punching cows and getting back to riding my horses and doing some things like that. And at that point in time, we'd come out of a tremendous drought in 2011, and the cattle market was super crazy high. The market it was the highest it's ever been in the history. And I'd started kind of trading on some cattle, and I made more money than I'd ever made riding bulls in a really short time. And so I just started having fun with that. It wasn't like a big turn in my life, like I'm quitting riding bulls because I want to raise a family, or like something out of fearful. I'm not ever fearful about a decision I make. If if I make a decision, it's well thought through. You know, it's not out of fear. And so I didn't quit riding bulls because I got nervous or scared for my family or nothing like that. I just started having fun doing something else. And that's really where my heart was at, you know. And so I started just punching cows for a living, and I got healthy. And then I came in there and told Courtney one day, I was like, I think I'm done. And she was like, really? She's like, you're just now better. She was like, I thought we were fixing to hit it again. And she was kind of upset about it, you know. She was like, she kind of wanted me to go back, you know. And I'd worked hard to get healthy, and I did. And I just was like, man, I don't want it no more. And
well, and in your late 20s, early 30s, I mean, there's a lot of
28.
but there's a lot. I recently watched that. I was telling you about it earlier. That it's Amazon, I believe it is, The Ride. And when they did that draft and they picked their bull riders, I think the first draft pick, that dude was like 32, and they were talking about how old he is for the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that.
You know, it's a rough sport. I mean, you get in a car wreck every night.
Yeah.
You know,
It's kind of like any contact sport. You know, you get an NFL linebacker that's in his mid-30s. He's an old man.
Football for sure. But I think add 100 times on football.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
bull
Any
riding
kind
versus-
of contact sport like that, once you hit your 30s, you're probably too old for that sport now.
So a car wreck every night. That's a good.
Yeah, it's a
That's
good,
a good-
basically,
it's a
it's,
good way to put it.
and I was never good at getting off of them.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of guys that had a lot more success than me. I took a lot out of my career. I wasted a lot of my career. But it's like freaking hard on you.
Yeah.
You know, and I never did let go. That a lot of guys was like, man, why didn't you just let go? And I was just like, man, I'm not. I guess I'm that dumb. I never would turn loose of them. So whether I would ride them 5 seconds, 2 seconds, or stay on them after the whistle, I never got off real good. I always ended up underneath them and getting stamped on pretty good. They'd dance on me quite a bit.
So you told us earlier about you got stepped on in your stomach.
Yeah.
Tell us that was prior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that. You stepped on your stomach.
Yeah, bull stepped on my stomach, and like I said earlier, I didn't meet God or Jesus till later on in my life, and back then I didn't know, but I was dying.
What did that feel like whenever that big son of a bitch landed on you?
It sounded like it felt like I was dying.
Yeah?
I mean, yes, sir.
Oh.
Yeah, like I remember seeing his legs straight up over the top of me, and before I could get rolled out of the way, he stepped both feet right in the middle of my belly, and I remember folding in half like a lawn chair. My nose touched my knees.
Damn.
Because of the
pressure
pressure,
force.
both
Yeah.
of his legs landed. Both his feet landed right in the middle of my belly.
God damn.
And this is with a vest on, I'm sure.
I had a vest on,
Yeah.
yeah, but
But it don't matter with
No.
it don't matter with the
Yeah,
size of the arm.
How big are those
Well, I
sons of
remember when.
bitches?
So I remember. Well, yeah. How much is a bull? How
Yeah,
much is
so
a
everybody
PBR
knows.
bull?
that was a really big bull too. Not all of them are really big. There's small ones, big ones, medium sized ones, but that was a big bull. He probably weighed 1,700.
Yeah. Because I
It's like
remember.
being hit by a car,
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
small car.
I remember when the vest came out. That was when. 'Cause
yeah. I always used yours.
Yeah.
I always
So-
come over there and borrow your vest.
Well, that was the big selling point when those vests come out, is they said it distributes the weight. And I remember looking at this vest and going, you know, that was a selling point. If you get stepped on, you're still going to probably hurt, but it's distributing the weight. And I remember looking at it going, I just don't get how
I
it's,
don't get
how
that
it's
works.
distributing the weight. But that was a Barstow Pro Rodeo Equipment vet. That was one of their selling points on those
It
vests.
probably does, distribute the weight a little bit.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
but
helps.
yeah.
You know,
It probably would have stepped right through the son of a bitch
Yeah.
if you didn't have the vest
So,
on.
yeah, maybe. So lacerated liver.
rib spleen.
Damn.
Broke my ribs on my left side. Broke a few ribs on my left side.
You said
Punctured-
6 weeks in.
Punctured my lung. I was in ICU for, if I said 6 weeks, I was in ICU for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And then I was in, like, I had to be watched after I got home. I had to be watched 24 hours.
Make sure like no
Like,
internal bleeding open
Yeah,
back
I had
up.
to be
or-
watched and be helped to the bathroom. And so I lived on a ranch on the east side of Fort Worth at that time, and was riding cutting horses for a guy, and they were sponsoring me in the bull riding, and his daughter and and her husband took real good care of me. They helped me pretty much get back to life.
Were you? Did it when this thing stepped on you? Did you lose consciousness at all, or
No,
really? Oh,
I remember. I wish I would have,
I
because
bet.
I can remember thinking like I'm dying.
Yeah.
God!
You know, like I was thinking that,
Wow.
and my ears were ringing, and he never stepped anywhere close to my head. You know.
rough.
You've had your bell rung, I'm sure,
Yeah.
at some point in your life, and my bell was rung, and he never even got anywhere close to my face or my head. You know,
It's wild. That's
Such
wild.
a danger. I've got on a kick here lately. I've watched some of the YouTube videos on like foreigners watching bull riding, and I guess I took it for granted because I've seen bull ridings my entire life. But it's funny watching some of those foreigners go, what are they doing?
What are you doing?
What is going on here?
it's just something we
Why
got
would you
tired.
do that?
Us cowboys got bored with punching cows and thought, hell,
Somebody, this
why
bull.
don't you ride that some bitch?
See how long you ride them.
So you start trading cattle.
Yeah, and man, it wasn't easy because I just rode bulls.
Yeah.
Do
You feel somewhat, were you adrenaline junkie at that point? Is that something that goes?
I don't know that adrenaline junkie would be the word for it at that point in my life. When I was a kid, yeah.
But I mean,
I
coming,
loved it when I was a kid. Like I fed off that adrenaline. And then there's a point in time when you do it after so long that it just becomes like a job. Yeah, you have adrenaline. You face life and death every single night of the week. But as at the end of my career, wasn't an adrenaline rush. No, it was like I had a job and I knew how to do my job and
you out there and
just the way it was.
so, but I can imagine even though I would think that you go to trading cattle, and even though it's not necessarily the adrenaline rush in the way that it has been, but just still the atmosphere, the whatever going on, missing some of that, slowing down.
Yeah, so slowing down is a big. It's something I deal with today.
Really,
This far in my life, if I don't have 6,000 yearlings to go check and a movie deal to do and 5 or 6 different things to do that spread me so thin that I can't even see straight, I find myself hard to cope. It's hard to cope in life because I'm such a driven
go
person that whenever I don't have a lot going on, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I've recently talked to quite a bit of people.
it's not a really healthy way to live. You have to learn. You kind of have to learn how to steward that deal because you can find yourself pretty miserable if you live at such a high standard of just go. You have to learn how to stop and relax and like.
Yeah, so go
That can
because
be stressful.
I would imagine going to your days where you're going. I mean, how many rodeos in a week?
Yeah, so we'd go from whenever I started going to PBRs, it was just on the weekends, but I would work out and go to chiropractors and stuff during the week, and then I'd fly out on Friday, fly home on Sundays, and then it was just starting over. We'd go home, where I was raised right there, man that raised me, and where I live now, and where I run my cattle now, and do all that. We had an arena there, and we would get on 5 or 10 bulls a week right there at his place, right there at my house, and it was between working out, getting on bulls every day, just hustle and bustle,
See, that's interesting. I was going to ask you how you train for
Yeah, get
an
on 'em.
event. You just ride them at
So-
the ranch or whatever.
Yeah, we had buck and shoots right there, and we would. I had practice bulls, and we had 60 head of bulls right there, and
okay.
so, we'd ride them every night that I was home, not going to an event or something.
Yeah.
We were there riding bulls at night in the evenings.
Huh.
Yeah. I went to a couple of those.
Yeah.
We went out there to a couple of them. That was good. That was a good time. It always felt
fun,
like a good
man.
time.
Yeah. Did you ever sit whenever you did your practice? Did you ever sit back and like critique what you might have done wrong?
Yeah, so we'd video them, and then
okay, cool.
I wasn't real big on critiquing. Like every ride's different. Every time you nod your head, it was different. You know, like you just kind of had to keep your mind out of it.
I got
you. I mean, it was a subconscious. You don't think about it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's all by
just,
feel.
Yeah, you slide up there and ride them.
Okay,
you know, it's like a dance.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So so you're cowboying or you're running your cows now.
So
you left bull riding.
I bought a set of cows in the drought. Me and Gary partnered on a set of cows, and during the drought, and we put them up on a lease we had in Childress, and anyways, it got real dry after that, and then I'd bought some cattle, and had them kind of scattered around here in Godley, and was just. And then when the market came up after the drought, when the market shot up as high as it's ever been, I sold a good bit of those cattle, and that was more money than I'd ever seen in my life, you know. And so I was able to, I did that, and I was like, man, that's fun, you know. I had fun doing it,
and I'm not nearly as beat up.
Yeah, and I didn't think about the beating up part, you know, but I love making horses. Even all throughout my bull riding career, I was always horseback. You know, I trained horseback. I would train, like you asked a while ago about training. I would train horseback. So I'd get on my horse bareback and
work.
You know, trot around and bareback. And
so at some point, did you get into like the day help part of the cowboying? And explain, if you don't mind, explain day help and am I saying that right? Day help.
Yeah, day working cowboy.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's quite a bit of people that don't know that term. Do you know that term?
I have no idea, but I don't.
So a day working cowboy is exactly what I became after that. There's all the cattle you see around, which you don't see a lot around in Godley no more because we're a subdivision. It's a big ass subdivision here now.
Yeah.
But all the ranches, there's a ranch north of town that's a good sized ranch, and they run yearlings, and I day work for them. Any of the cattle you see around, they have to have cowboys come do their work for them. You know, if a bull gets on the neighbor, or if a cow gets on the neighbor, you got to go catch them or get them back for them. And so that's what I started doing.
And doctoring as well, right?
Doctoring, you know, foot rot and sick and pink eye cattle. And so I started day working right after that, and I was making $75 a day is what we had made back then. And we would go around with our horse and truck and trailer and work people's cattle for them, give them vaccinations, wean them, brand them, whatever they needed, whatever kind of cow work they needed, we'd do it. And it was really slow getting started, man, because nobody knew me as a cowboy. Everybody knew me as a bull rider, so it was a whole nother chapter of my life.
So you're just like a freelance cowboy then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, man, I'm on a mission to see the goodness of God on this side of eternity, and I love doing it underneath the cowboy hat.
That's awesome.
So you're riding around these big ranches. That one north of town was about 15,000 acres or something like that.
Yeah, it's that ranch is 15,000 acres, and then I believe their ranch south of town is 5,000 acres, I think.
And when you're out there,
I could be wrong.
Roughly,
Roughly though, yeah.
When you're out there and you're doing that day work, you're doctoring, you're doing all that. How many head of cattle are they?
So that ranch on a good year, they turn around 8,000 out. It's been so dry the last couple of years, we've only turned around 6,000 out. But we're horseback every day. We get there at daylight and we work till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're horseback every day.
And then you're cowboying on your place when you're done with that, right?
Right, and then so I run cattle. I lease about 2,000 acres around Godley and Cleburne, and I run my own cattle.
How many head do you have?
We were up to 150 head of mother cows, and so since this drought's been 2 years, and I've sold off just about every cow that I have, and I'm going in a little bit different direction now. I think I'm going to start running yearlings, just like that ranch north of town does. So, what that is a stalker. It's a yearling. So whenever they're weaned off their mother, there's a guy that comes in there and takes those cattle and preconditions those cattle and gets them used to being weaned off their mother, gets them used to eating feed and gains weight, puts weight on them, and then sends them to the feed yard, and that's where they finish out.
Oh, okay.
And actually go into the stores and being distributed into the
Kroger's
and HEBs and Walmarts and.
So you're out there.
That's awesome.
So you're running. So you're out there with them doing that in the morning, and then you're doing your own place. And at some point in time, you got into this movie stuff, right?
Right.
How'd
Yep.
that come about?
And
You're a
so,
movie star?
I'm not a star by any means. I just wing it, man.
So
Like from the first part of my life, whenever nobody, you were probably my biggest influence in riding bulls.
yeah,
Just by seeing your pictures on the wall.
I'm sure your mama didn't want to hear that. But.
No, I don't care. I'm a grown man. You were probably my biggest influence at that.
That's funny because I did nothing with it.
No, at that you didn't, but I was like so infatuated with it. I would come over there and ask you to borrow your vest and borrow your rope every day to ride the bucking barrel.
Yeah.
And I would see his pictures on the wall. He had one picture of him riding a steer on the wall, and he had a buddy named Justin
Yeah.
that passed away in a car wreck.
Yeah.
But between those two guys, that was like my in on like
Yeah, you're not
the way of life that I still live today.
That's pretty cool.
You
It
know?
was pretty neat. I
That's
wish
pretty
I would.
cool, man.
I wish I went done some cowboying, and I probably.
Could you imagine your life if you weren't stuck at this piece of shit job that we have now?
We're not
doing
gonna go.
that?
We're not gonna go down that road. So no, the movie wrangling. You get into what was your first?
So
Or is it movie wrangling? How do you?
I became my first job in the movie business was a wrangler. So
What does a wrangler do?
the movie,
A movie
1883, they were short on wranglers, and a wrangler in the movie business is a guy that tends to the horses. Like you have all these horses working on that movie set. There has to be cowboys there. It's not up to the actors to
Yeah, I can imagine the shit
Tend
show
to the
that would be
horses.
if the actors were doing it.
They couldn't do it.
to tend to the horses, and so a lot of those actors can ride horses, and a lot of them can't. A lot of them have to learn, like at that
Right then.
at that show, on they come to a thing that's called Cowboy Camp, and we teach them how to ride horses as a wrangler. So, a wrangler, my job was I was a new guy on the totem pole. Like, I had to pretty much start from the bottom and work my way up. But any of those horses that they were having trouble with, they'd let me ride them. Make sure they weren't a buck or do something stupid with the actors, and then they would send them to the next guy, and there's always a guy. There's always a head wrangler that's assigned to an actor. So like in that show,
Which show is this?
it was 1883.
Okay.
So the Yellowstone prequel.
Yeah.
And so Sam Elliott was on that show, and like he had his own
It's so
wrangler.
cool to meet Sam Elliott.
So
Did you get to meet Sam Elliott?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And
man,
him
it
and
was
my
so
grandpa,
badass.
my grandfather, Joe Brown, which is in Arizona. He's passed away now. But he's the one that taught Sam Elliott how to ride a horse.
Oh, badass.
Oh, cool.
And so when Sam Elliott first got in the movie business, my grandpa, he went out to my grandpa's ranch. My grandfather, they were doing spring works at that time, and he came and worked for a few weeks and learned how to drag calves, ride a horse, do the whole deal. Like he didn't want to fake it. He wanted to be the real deal. And he can really ride a horse. Like he can
And you know,
he can do whatever he wants,
Wow.
whatever you ask him to do.
so you're just taking care of the cattle,
You're a livestock.
horses, and
Yep. Whatever they need. If they need shit picked up on set, that's what you do. If they got one that's acting stupid that needs loped for 45 minutes before you put it back on camera, that's what you do. You're just handling cattle, handling horses. This is what I do every day. And so that's how I got started. And then one day, my dad did stunts in the movie business for years, but they're not the ones that got me involved. A guy named Thomas Saunders that I day worked for and that I helped Cowboy and stuff for over in Weatherford, and a guy named Buster Frierson that I know through Cowboy and day working. Both of those guys are the ones that got me on whenever the show was in Weatherford and around Strawn. And so they called me and asked me if I would be available to do that, and I said, yeah. What's it pay? And they were like, it's going to pay $500 to $1,000 a day.
Fuck yeah, sign me up.
And I was like, I'll be there. When do I need to show up? And so I show up, and I'm a raw-ass cowboy, man. I ain't never been around nothing like that. And so they cut me a string of horses, and they were like, these are your horses to tend to. Whatever we need with these horses, like, you're responsible. Like, this is your deal. And I was like, all right, perfect. I got it. And so I would just ride those horses and keep them rode for those guys when they needed help or they needed something with them. Then I was the man for it. And then so the stunt
that's
coordinator.
what I was about to ask you. You got into
the stunt
stuff.
coordinator just comes up to me one day, and he kind of knew who I was because of my dad. He knew my dad. My dad has been a really good stunt man. He's done that his whole life, but.
And is it all stunts or just cowboy stunts? Is there a difference between a stunt man doing jumping off a building and then a difference with one
not
that's
really.
doing... No?
Not really. No. You just wing it, man. Like I said earlier, anything I've ever done in my life I had no models, you know? Like I seen your picture in your room, and that's what struck me to want to ride bulls. And then later on, like, my grandpa taking me on a few ranches and punching cows whenever I was a little bitty kid. The next chapter of my life, I was like, I just want to be a cowboy, and I just faked it till I made it.
I got you.
You know, like I just put one foot in front of the other. Like, I didn't have nobody teach me how to do none of that. You know, I didn't grow up that way.
So yeah, because I mean,
and then so on the movie business, I just showed up, and like. They tried to fire me twice.
Really?
Yeah, if it wasn't for Thomas Saunders, I wouldn't have made it.
What'd they try to fire you over?
So I show up one day, and it was the first frost. It was in November. First frost that we had. And that horse they picked for me that day that they needed on set, wanted on set, he kind of had an attitude, and he was pretty humpy, which that means he kind of wanted to buck a little bit whenever I got up on him. And where I come from is in the cedar breaks, and you freaking make them wear it. You know, you throw your saddle at them, and when you step up there, you make them wear it. Mm-hmm. And what I mean wear it, you make them wear you.
Yeah.
You don't let them.
But you just hang on.
You got to show them who the boss is.
You dang right. And so, that horse went to pitching out across there, and Buster Frierson, buddy of mine, and a couple of them other guys was out there. Good cowboys, cowpunchers that are just like me. They were hooping and hollering, and I just throwed him his head, and I went to spurn him like I was Billy Etbuyer. And they didn't like that too much. The movie people didn't like that too much. And so they tried to fire me. They think you were
like abusing the horse or some shit?
I guess. He needed it. And that son of a bitch never bucked again. He never bucked again. And he was a perfect gentleman the rest of the time he was on set. And he needed every bit of it. But I got reprimanded over that deal by like 3 or 4 different people. And they didn't fire me, but they tried to make me quit. I didn't get back on another horse for like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
They put me on like moving wagons and strapping wagons down to a trailer, and like the shit work. Mm-hmm. I never even seen a horse for 3 weeks after that.
Oh, wow.
And I was ready to quit. And at that time, I called my wife. I was like, I'm done with this shit. She was like, well, I just got your first check today.
You're not done.
And it's more than you make in about $3, cowboy.
You're not quitting, motherfucker.
She's like, you better just stick it out a little longer. And so
I think I've got that, not about cowboying, but I've got that phone call from my wife before. I've had that. No, you're not doing
You're not
that.
leaving.
About that time, the production moved to Montana, and they didn't let me go. The whole production moved up there. The movie set moved up there, but the head wrangler stayed down here and worked the horses that were not good enough to go on set. And like he had a string of colts, and they start, and some that's bucked some people off on set and stuff. So me and Thomas stayed down here, and I rode them outlaws, like they call them outlaws, like I rode the outlaws on set, or that were kicked off set, that weren't good enough to go to the production. I would ride those every day. And I broke a lot of their wagon horses under a saddle. I'd done a lot of things, and they had one that bucked a girl off on set one day. And me and this guy weren't real good friends. Like the head wrangler, we weren't buds. Like he believes totally different than me, And so he gets me on this bronc that bucked this girl off, and this bitch bucked harder than Josh Stang's Sippin' Velvet, which was a horse that Berners Johnson had that was an NFR horse of the year. And he done the deal. He bucked hard as he could buck. Should have bucked me off. He just kept going underneath me. Is the only reason I didn't hit the ground. Anyway, I got him rode, and after I got him rode, kind of got him broke a little bit. And we took him to the sale, and he brought a lot of money for that old guy. And then after that old guy started liking me pretty good. And we got to
money. You make somebody some money, they like
you. We got to being pretty good friends after that, Anyway, the stunt coordinator comes up, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do a stunt for me?" It was just like anything else I've ever done in my whole life. I'm just like, yes. Sure, and I put one foot in front of the other, man. And so the stunt that they actually had me do, we go to Guthrie, and the stunt that they actually had me do in the whole scene, I'm like the star in the whole scene.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm the main outlaw chasing the main actress in this show, which was Isabel May. She was like the main.
Is that
actress.
where you're playing a Comanchero? Or
I was just a cattle thief.
The cattle, okay, yeah.
And so I get tomahawked off this horse, by an Indian, but the Indian was actually married to the star of the show, Isabel May, which was Tim McGraw's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And so, I didn't realize, I didn't have any idea. Like
he just said,
I've never done a stunt before. I've never fallen off on camera. I've done it 100 times out in the pasture. I've been in tons of wrecks, punching cows and day working and riding bulls, whatever. So this stunt coordinator comes ask me if I want to do a stunt. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. What's it pay? And he tells me what it pays, and I'm like, absolutely, sure. I'm gonna do it. And so we get there that day, and the coordinator puts everybody where he wants them to be, and then I'm the main one out front. And I'm chasing this girl through this pasture, and then it slow motion goes to me chasing this chick, and I run out of bullets in the scene. And so I turn my pistol around, and I'm going to hit her off. I'm going to knock her off her horse with the butt of my pistol. And then about the time I turn her, I'm going to hit her off her horse with my pistol. This Indian comes out of the brush and tomahawks me and hits me with a tomahawk, and I flip off my horse.
So they told you they want you. How they say we want you to fall off the horse. We want you to chase after her.
We want you to chase her,
and then take.
We
a
want
dive
you to
off
be
that
out
horse.
front, and then whenever you feel that tomahawk hit you in the back, we need you to act like you're dead. You need to take the hit and fall off your horse like you're dead.
That's as coordinated as it got. You didn't do like a bunch of practice runs or anything?
No, not one practice run.
That's badass.
I'd fallen off a horse just a lot.
Yeah.
I've been in wrecks. I've roped bulls where I get my horse jerked out from under me. I mean, the list goes on as far as that goes, but
making the conscious decision to jump off,
making the conscious decision of looking out there and bailing off
at a full
sprint.
At a full run.
It's different when it's not your choice.
It damn sure is. Like I didn't want off. Not going that fast. And so we're rolling.
Have you seen that scene in the movie?
I have never
you watched
watched
that?
any of those shows. So no,
1883. Yeah.
I don't know anything about them.
Yeah. So
I've never seen Yellowstone either, so I don't.
so that happens, and man, I made more money that week than I've ever. Well, maybe not more than I've made bull riding, but I had to dang sure work for it when I made that much bull riding. You know, I dang sure won an event or something like
They
that.
had to pay you a lot more for that stunt.
It
stunt
paid a
work?
bunch, yes, sir.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I'm fixing to start getting residuals off of it, which isn't even pay more. So
That's great.
and then
So you have to do it more than once on that
I did
first
that
one?
4 times. I hit the ground 4 times.
Mm.
Yeah. And you would think the ground would be padded. Like I always kind of thought they'd pad the ground for the stunt guys.
Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
You just
It was a freaking clay, hard ass.
Just hit the
ground.
fucking dirt.
Cactus shit like that.
Well, you're good at landing on the ground. You've done it a lot. So.
Yeah. That's the only good thing about it.
hit and roll, or yeah. So you've just kind of your entire adult life, right? You've would you say you've been self-employed? Would you say? I mean, it sounds like it from the because I don't imagine.
Just been self-employed. You know, I've had help along the way. Gary Butcher. You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't do what I do in the cattle business without Gary.
Yeah.
Absolutely couldn't do it.
Well, I remember there was a time. I don't know if you remember this.
Who's Gary
He's
Butcher?
he owns a ranch outside.
He owns
of
a
town.
ranch
Oh,
here in
okay.
town, and I grew up there. When I decided I wanted to ride bulls, he was like, "Hell, build you a pen right there and do it."
Yeah.
Okay.
And then now he's pretty much given me that land to do anything I want to do.
That's
on
badass.
to make a living, and it's been a huge blessing to me and my family.
We all kind of. You definitely grew up down there the most, but we all kind of grew up down there somehow.
Every friend that I've ever had has been through that place and lived there for a short time, and
man, he employed me. He
Yeah.
employed me right out of high school. I needed as a second job, and he said, "Yeah, there's always work to be done out here."
See,
So,
that's cool, man. I'm kind of jealous of you guys because I think any self-respecting Texan has always had that in the back of their head, you know, to work on a ranch or whatever.
you didn't.
But I never had that opportunity to do that.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it was all of us at some point did something out there. I think at one point I told him I wanted to break a horse or something, and he said, "Well, there's a couple out there. Go get on them." And me and a couple buddies from high school had no idea what we were doing, but we just thought, well, it'd be fun to get up on one of these dudes bucking. And I don't know if you would say we broke that horse, but we dang sure made him quit bucking. He probably couldn't. He probably wasn't worth nothing for someone that actually knows how to break a horse, but
dang right.
but he quit bucking with us.
Well, there you go. That's something. That's the first step to learning how to do it, I guess.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, we all.
That's how they did it originally, I imagine, till they figured it out.
Yeah, I would imagine you on the cattle drive or whatever.
Yeah,
you
shit.
get on there and
You always
Rode him-
needed fresh stock, you know.
Yeah.
You gosh dang, there's only one way to do it: make them wear it.
yeah, that was that was a good time having that down the road.
So what exactly goes into breaking a horse? You just
So
wear 'em
when they're
out?
2 years old, like that's what I do now. I punch cows for a living, and I start colts and ride horses for a living. And so it's little bitty baby steps, and you win with confidence of the horse, you know.
Okay.
So you have to make it be fun for them. They gotta like it, or they're
Like
not
having
gonna,
somebody ride them.
yeah. You know, they're not gonna like it at first, you know. But
Yeah.
you got to make them like it. And
I know. I've been there before.
I remember the hardest part to me seemed like getting the saddle on the first time.
yeah.
That seemed
So-
like it was the hardest part.
So some of them take it a lot easier than others,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them, I got a cotton rope that I got a bowline tied in it, and I put that bowline around their neck, and then I take the rest of it, and I put it around their back leg, and I tie it back to their neck, to their bowline, to that bowline where they got a foot hiked up,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't got no choice but to make them wear it then, you know.
Nice.
And I throw the saddle at them, and then stepping up on them the first time. Some of them take it a lot better than others, and if they don't want to take it good, I step up there, and then I step up there just like I do whenever I saddle them the first time. The ones that don't want to do it right, I'll tie that leg up to that bowline. I'll step up there, and then whenever I feel like they're accepting me a little bit, I'll jerk that knot out of that bowline and let them trot off.
Hmm.
You know.
I remember we ran a dog collar through the I'm drawing a blank here, through the hole through the tree on the saddle.
Yeah.
And because I thought my thought was, well, if this thing goes to bucking, I got a bareback rigging right there. If I reach down and grab that dog collar.
That's the old knot latch.
That was what I thought. Well, we just.
It's called the knot latch.
Is that what it's called? I don't know if I saw that somewhere or if it was just my thought at the time. I remember we had done that, and there was a bunch of we were in high school. There was a bunch of people that were going to come out that day, and as they were pulling up, I had that horse. I already had him saddled, and I had him down at the end of the arena, and he went to bucking right as all them cars pulled up. And I looked like a champ, just ride that horse all the way. I was scared to death, but I just rode that horse all the way down the end of that arena bucking. Probably wasn't nearly what it felt like,
Right.
But I thought, and everybody was impressed at the time, so I thought I was something else. But
dang right.
But no, so what I was getting at is just kind of, I remember at a point I ran into you down there, and you must have been still riding bulls, and I said, hey, this place I'm hiring, you probably don't remember this. I said, this place I'm working at, is hiring. I said, you want to, I'll put a word in for you if you want to come out there. And you told me, no, I'm not ready to do a regular job right now. And boy, it's, it looks like it's worked out for you getting to follow your dreams and doing what you want. Just one of the things that we kind of talk about a lot on here too is, you've kind of, I'm sure you've had the times self-employed kind of in a way, working for yourself, right? You're making money for you, but the struggles that go with that, with the no insurance at different times, and
So I've never had insurance until I got on the movie business. Now I've worked 3 shows. I started with 1883. I've worked on 1883. I worked on 1923, which is another Yellowstone prequel, and I've worked on recently Bass Reeves. And I'm fully covered insurance now. I got full coverage for me and my family. But up into that,
is that insurance that you bought yourself, or you get it through something
through SAG?
Oh, through
SAG
okay.
after, yeah.
So in a way, you're still self-employed. They give you an option to buy insurance
so
through them.
As long as you're working, you get to.
As long as I make so much a year through them, and now I made so much this past spring that's going to cover me for 3 years.
Oh, nice. That's badass.
So
I think, and then one of the reasons I was bringing this up is because one of the things that
it's a union job.
Yeah.
One of the
I had a friend that was an actress, and she was lamenting the day that she lost her SAG insurance because she wasn't working anymore as an actress.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think is maybe a misconception, and people around our age, your parents said, you go get a good job for a good company, and you got good insurance and
wait, hold on. Oh,
benefits.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Benefits and everything like that's going on, and I don't think that that's the same way that it might have been, say, for our parents. So someone from the generation above us, to see a guy that's making a good living for his family and doing what he wants to do without working for the man per se, right? Like you didn't. That's pretty neat to see.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm going with that? Like it was. Everybody told us go get, and I did it. I went and got a good job with a good company.
I did the same thing,
and thought this is where it's at. And I would think now, if a kid was coming up to me and saying, in my scenario, I wasn't going to college when I graduated high school. I wasn't doing any of that stuff, and saying, what do I do? I don't think you could give a person that same advice. I think we were probably the last generation to be able to say, go work for a company, work up with the way in that company, right? Like you just don't see that.
Well, you can't stay with a company long enough to. Most people can't.
Yeah.
We're fortunate in sort of with the industry we're in, where you could potentially retire and draw a pension, but most companies don't do that. In fact, they say now to make any money, you have to change jobs every 2 years.
Yeah.
Just to get a pay raise.
So just like it's just to see someone like yourself who's done that, who've worked for you, right? Not worked for putting money in someone else's pocket.
Which is fantastic.
In a way, it's that's pretty awesome. I'm sure there's struggles that go along with that are tough too, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. A lot of it's just faith, man. Like you got to put one foot in the front of the other, and like you can't say what if. You got to make it work. You got to make it happen. Like
make it happen.
So when I was rodeoing and riding bulls, I can look at my bull riding career and be so disappointed because I didn't win $1 million. I didn't win a gold buckle. I didn't build a big old huge fancy ranch like a lot of those guys get to do.
Drive around Decatur.
But I learned how to work. Like I learned how to grind. I learned how to do what it takes to get to the next one. I learned how to not ever look at my situation as a negative, but to turn it into a positive. And so when I started doing anything else that I've ever done, there's always struggles.
Yeah.
You know, so I work for the ranch north of town, the Basses. They employ me, and I work for them from the time they have cattle till the time that they ship those cattle, which is it starts in January, February, and then we ship them in July. And I work for them 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Through that period. And so it's almost like whenever I'm done with that, I'm kind of lost. Like I got to figure out how to make a living again. You know, I'm used to getting that check every week. I know exactly what I'm going to make. And then once I get my ball rolling again, after that job's gone, like in this time right now, I have to find a way to make a living. So I have to ride colts, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. But I'm always open to opportunities, and I want to do the things that I enjoy and I love to do. So you've heard the saying, like you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I'm like on a mission to live that life.
That's fantastic.
You know?
Yeah, you don't strike me as somebody that goes, oh man, I'm just not making the money. I guess I'm going to go get an insurance license and start selling life insurance.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with having a job and working for a company, and you can live a great life doing that. I mean that there's nothing wrong with that. Security.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that want that.
It's just I choose to do it the way I want to do it. You know, I want to design, and I want to live my life the way I want to live it.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, it's just struggle sometimes. Yeah. You know, no doubt.
Yeah.
There's some days I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work, but you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're hoping.
I mean, I got 4
with
kids.
This podcast. You know?
I started this. We started this podcast. I had 1 kid. I got 4 now.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and my wife is so supportive, man. Like, I remember then when we lived on the floor in my little house that I got, and we lived on the floor, and our TV was on a cardboard box, and we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. But we stayed happy. Yeah. You know, we just, she's been super supportive, and whatever decision I decide to make financially, she's cool with it.
That's great. That's the only way it can work, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all this, that was kind of what I was wanting to get to, as far as like doing your own thing, doing what you want, what makes you happy. I've asked, we interviewed a firefighter, and I asked him if he was able to give any advice to a young man coming up that wanted to be a firefighter. What would his advice be? And I want to ask you the same question. If there was somebody that was wanting to, let's do it 2 ways. Let's say if you're someone that was wanting to be a professional bull rider, what's the advice you would give to him starting out? This guy's right out of high school. And then on the other hand, what was advice you would give to someone that says, I want to be a cow puncher, I want to be a cowboy, and maybe someone like yourself who didn't necessarily grow up on the ranch or completely immersed in the lifestyle? Both of those, would you give them the same advice, or what advice would you give them?
So, man, you got to wake up. I don't care what you do. You got to wake up earlier than everybody else. You got to stay longer than everybody else. Like, the workload is never done, and there's always something to be done. So, like, if you're gonna ride bulls for a living, you got to get on more. You got to get on more of them than your opponent's getting on. You got to try harder, and you can never put enough work in. You know, as far as the workload goes, there's no cap on that. You just keep trying until you get it. As a bull rider, as an athlete, if you want to play baseball for a living, you want to go play football for a living, the workload can never be the last thing. It has to be the first thing. And whenever times get hard, you have to have the faith to push through. For a cowpuncher, for an entrepreneur, for like somebody that wants to make a living on their own and doing the things that they want to do for a living, you have to wake up 2 hours earlier and you got to go to bed 2 hours later. You got to sacrifice time. Time is the main thing. You have to do the things that you don't want to do because you want to do the thing that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or you just be like some of the people I know, they're just lazy, useless sons of bitches. They sit around all day.
Here we go.
No, I'm serious. I know people, that's their life endeavor, just to be nothing.
Well, you have to have...
And they're good at it. They don't do shit.
And that's okay if that's what they want to be like. You know, but
I guess.
Not for me.
We're a
No,
lot. You know,
yeah.
we're meant to be a lot. You know, God gave us this life, and my gift back to him is what I do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Good words. Good words. Well, Cody, I appreciate you coming on here
Yeah.
with us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
it's
that's been great.
Been good times. It's
Thanks
good,
for having
good talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for doing it. And,
Appreciate you.
I didn't realize I influenced the bull riding as much as I did. That's pretty
Absolutely.
neat.
You set him on the path that he's on
I
today.
set him on the path
Good job.
accidentally when we were
Yeah.
when we were teenagers. So
Yeah. You
anyway,
did something
Accidentally.
accidentally.
I remember going
That
over there
buck
and
and
getting
barrel.
that buck and barrel from Joshua over at your grandparents' house.
Yeah.
We brought it over there, and I was like, couldn't wait to get it up.
That thing.
Who
I
dug
still,
the holes for them telephone poles? I can't even remember.
we all did.
Did we do
We
it?
all did. Yeah, we set that whole thing up. Those were telephone poles. We buried them.
We
5 foot.
buried
4 or
them
5
telephone
Foot.
poles in rock.
Yeah.
Caliche
We
rock.
busted rocks out there. It
Jesus.
was, but there was a bunch of us. We weren't the only one. There
Yeah, it
was a
wasn't
bunch of
just us.
boys
It was
around
a
it.
bunch of us, and
Yeah.
we got them in and cemented them.
Yeah, yeah. It was.
Dude,
I
that
still
thing
got the
sounds like a
springs.
lot of fun.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I would love to
Not-
do that now. Just be like a broken,
It would
broken
not
man.
be fun for us.
One
now.
time I was riding it, and one of them springs come off, and it went whap.
Yeah,
Probably the
that
first
thing
time
was-
I got knocked
Yeah.
out.
I was on a lot of buck and barrels growing up, and that one was probably the gnarliest
It
of
was
them
badass.
all. That one was probably
I loved
it.
it.
Was I still got the springs.
You'd have to climb up it, and I
have
wasn't
to get a
never very.
ladder.
I wasn't very tall. I had to stick my foot in the back of it, and like it was all I could do to shimmy up on it. And then once I was on it, it would sit level. The rest of them guys, they'd like JD and his brother, some of the other
Sink it
guys
down, yeah.
naming. It'd like sink down there. But me,
Yeah.
it was like that, and they were like, they
Taught-
could send it.
We
So do they have like ropes on it?
So yeah, you have ropes. You have about 2 foot of rope,
Uh-huh.
2 or 3 foot of rope from the barrel back to the springs, and then the springs are attached to the telephone pole at 4 corners of the barrel, going at an angle. And I don't know how many people know what a belly roll is, but you can get that dude going up and down. If you grab one spring and pull one spring,
Oh, so you're just jerking on the
you're
springs.
just up and down. So think of the little kid, like the horse that little kids rode on. Just a 15 foot by 15 foot homemade version of
That's
person rocket
redneck
launcher.
ass shit. That sounds great.
Well, and if you got one side and you could pull it down, you could spin that. There were tricks you could learn to make the barrel belly roll, which is, I don't know, you probably explain a belly roll better than me, but like what a bull would do when you.
That's
when
where
he-
their belly goes to the sun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's
you
called
could
sun fishing.
you could really, that was something else, man. That
Wow.
thing. I've got the springs for it, and
Heck yeah.
my wife's tried to make me throw them away several times, and I kept telling her one day I'm gonna put it up for the boys.
I hope my son never wants those things.
Yeah, I know it. That's good. They got insurance now. Look,
Yeah.
we went to the hospital a lot that summer. Between that and dirt bikes, we went
bet.
quite a bit.
That's amazing.
Well, Cody, thanks again.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
Guys, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And we still don't have anyone listening in Arizona. So if you know someone in Arizona and where was the other one? Nevada.
Nevada.
Send
or
it. Send
Delaware.
the podcast to them. Or
I'll send
Delaware.
it to my sister.
There you
Yeah.
go. There
She's
you
in
go.
Arizona.
There you go. All right, guys. Next time.
All right. See you. Thanks.